Oh, shit. No, still should have 2 more minutes. Go live.
You are live, honey.
Am I? Okay, because it's telling me that I'm not. All right, so welcome. I'm Joanna Rochester, Soul Alchemist, and this is Real Talk Soul Alchemist at Speak Up and Empower. I'm joined by Kimberly Deputra, and she will introduce herself in a minute, but Speak Up and Empower is an online community of heart-centered people that are focused on creating the world that they envision for themselves. We provide entrepreneurs and experts with the tools that they need to have their voice heard, and we provide those that are searching for more the information that they're looking for. So welcome. Speak Up and Empower, Real Talk Soul Alchemist is on every Thursday at 12:30. So once again, I'm Joanna Rochester, and I am a soul alchemist. And alchemy is the art of transformation of the soul. And as a soul alchemist, I help guide my clients through a journey of transformation to help them let go of their story and become the best version of themselves. So Kimberly is an amazing, well, she has a number of titles, a number of skills and abilities, and I'm just going to let her introduce herself, and then we'll go from there. So Kimberly, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Hello. Thanks for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here. So those of you who don't know me, I am a faith-based psychic medium. I've been in mediumship for the last 5 years, since a trauma occurred in my family. And since then, I've kind of did a really big deep dive into my inner self and my whole process of why exactly am I here on my journey. So I'm so excited because I get to lead people every day and bring them closure and messages from their loved ones. And I couldn't be in a more heartfelt job. So I'm so excited to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you. And I can vouch. I've been to Kimberly, and she does an amazing job, not only providing the guidance and messages, but also showing you what to do with that information and how to transform your lives. So you, in a way, are an alchemist also. And so you said you had something traumatic happen. Has your journey been an easy one?
Oh, everything but. I wish it was a little easier, but then, you know, I love what I've learned along the way, so I wouldn't have had it any different. So I think the more that you go into yourself, the more we realize what power lies within, right? So, you know, kind of going inside and doing what I did, a deep dive, is there's always those times where we get into those dark situations and where sometimes we feel like we're at that verge of giving up. And that's kind of what brought me into my deep dive and has brought me out to who I am today.
Wonderful. Sorry. Having a problem with cancel. I'm just trying to get out of there. Okay. So sorry about that. Got thrown off by all the technology. Yeah.
Did you say hello, Spirit? How are you? Thanks for joining us today.
That's so true, so true. And it is that journey that can be so challenging, right? There are lots of times where I think, I just don't want to do the work anymore, right? It can be really hard, right? You really have to be willing. But I think the biggest thing is that, you know, when I look at my life now, as opposed to where I was like even a year ago, right? Let alone 5 or 10 years ago. It's such a huge transformation, and there's so much more joy and happiness. There's still ups and downs, and there's still headaches. It's not like it's perfect or anything like that, but there is still anything that happens is really a gift, because I know that once I've learned that lesson, I don't have to experience those teachings again. And once you've gone through it and you get it, the universe goes, okay, that's great. Now, brings you new teachings, but it's not the same ones, right? Because the universe kind of taps us on the shoulder and says, hey. And then if we don't listen, it goes, hey, and taps a little bit harder, and it keeps going until we pay attention. But once we've learned the lessons, we let go of it. So would you say with you, what have been some of your biggest lessons that you've learned?
To trust myself.
Yes.
And to totally trust the knowledge that comes through. I think, you know, we all have that intuition. We all have that, you know, so-called sixth sense.
Mhm.
Some of us use it more than others. Some of us tend to shut that off. And some of us tend to say, well, I know what's best for me. So that little voice that we used to see back in the older days, where you had like the good personality on one side and the bad personality on the other side, those kind of friction. And so I think listening to that voice that says, this is your direction, don't do this. And then you're like, I know it's better. Then you turn around and you go back through those lessons again. So I think it's one of those things, you got to listen to yourself and trust yourself, trust what comes through. And if you don't understand it, maybe go back in, take a couple minutes and wonder, why does this keep coming up? Why do I keep going through the same thing over and over again?
Right. There's a few things there. One, that trust is so huge, right? Because we get caught up in life because we don't trust ourselves, right? We get that guidance, as you said, that intuition, which is such a big part of ourselves. And it's that connection between our conscious and our subconscious self that's always there and is there for everyone. I have lots of clients, that have been hurt in relationships, and they say, how can I trust again? Well, I think that one of the biggest things is not so much can you trust other people, but do you trust yourself that when you get those red flags, you actually pay attention to them? Because so often we know, right, when someone's being presented to us, that's not for our best and greatest good, but because of our insecurity, self-esteem issues, whatever, right, we ignore the red flags. So when we can trust and say, I know I'm going to trust myself, and I'm going to listen to what I'm being shown, then, we know we don't have to worry about other people. We just have to learn to trust ourselves. And then the other point that you made there, what was else? I was going to say there's something else about, I forget. Anyways, there was another point there, but anyways. So trusting is so huge, and trusting that the universe has our back. Because so often we try and control, and that creates more issues in our lives. And so when you think of, perhaps not with yours, maybe with a client or something like that, what happened when someone let go of that control?
What happens is you end up confronting your shadow work.
Yeah.
You end up confronting those inner demons that you've shut the door on multiple times.
Right.
And it's just a matter of time until the door starts to open, and it can creak open. We can shut it back, and it can be triggered every time something happens. So every time that we have some type of trigger point that reminds us to something that was traumatic in our childhood, that door is going to creak open again. So until we confront it head on and feel it, and sometimes those feelings are horrible. I'll be the first one to say it's not a comfortable place to go. It's not secure. It's one of those places where it feels unsafe, and it feels like no matter what you do, you're treading into a dark room, so to speak. So I think being able to kind of step aside and take that deep breath and say, okay, I can handle this, and whatever it makes me feel like, I can take on those feelings. Because a lot of times we tend to shove things aside because we don't want those feelings. We don't want to feel sad. We don't want that anger to come back up because we're afraid of who those feelings will make us become again. Right. And those are the exact identity that we try to shut off as human beings right now.
Right. And I think one of the biggest things that I see was that child work is that you don't have to go through the whole experience again to understand what happened, right? It's more about how that experience how it leaves you feeling. Right. So if you are triggered and you go back, what actually comes up for you? Because you're responding the way that child did at the time, right? The child never learned a different way to respond. So I think that's the beauty of what you and I do, is that we can teach people how to, first of all, become aware of that inner child, and then two, understand what we are left with, and then three, how to learn to deal with it differently, and to learn to deal with it as an adult as opposed to the child. So that really is such a big part of that process that really is, I'm sure with you, right, so satisfying when someone gets it afterwards and can let it go and move forward. Although I would say, ask you this, right, how often does it happen that, people become aware of something, an inner child, and then things are fixed, or not fixed, but they're able to let go of it? Isn't it more of a process?
It kind of depends on what the trauma is, and it kind of depends on what your state of being, of consciousness is at the moment that you decide to go towards that. So, if you're in a really good place in your life and everything's going great, then maybe that would be a good state of mind that you're in to go ahead and go into that room, to go ahead and see what lies in there. If we're in a point in our life where we're depressed or where we feel like we keep going around and around and we're just not accomplishing, that tends to bring back insecurity. If we go to our child work and we want to go ahead and conquer these emotional feelings, how are we going to do that if we're in a state of mind where our consciousness is still not awake, right? So we must go kind of hand in hand and say, you know what, either one, I'm going to go ahead and go at this, or two, I'm not. Because you have to do the work, guys. If you don't do the work, you're not going to see the results. You can cheat, you can cut around, you can cut corners, but eventually, somebody's going to say you're a cheater. And now you got to go back to the start. So you will see that the best way to conquer it is to go directly straight in and to just see and just to adapt to it and to say, you know what, I'm in a place right now. And the reason I bring up confidence is because you have to be secure with who you are. You have to be secure with saying, I am okay. I am safe. I am where I need to be. A lot of times when we don't have that mindset and we go into child work, it brings us into that unsafe mindset. Then when we come out, if we're in good state of mind, that can get altered. So it's almost kind of like, let's say, put on all your gear, guys, put on a good way to do is meditation, because a lot of times before you start to say, oh my God, I'm going to go into that door. Oh my gosh, this is going to come up. I'm going to feel this way. We start to work ourselves up to feel that way once we go ahead and go towards those inner demons, so to speak. So we want to make sure that we don't have any thoughts. We don't have any preconditioning. We're not going to go in with a specific way of thinking. We're just going to go in to say, okay, I'm ready. I'm going to take those steps to be a better me. And then go from there. And then sometimes it works, pretty quickly. And sometimes you have to go back. And then so on, 6 weeks, a month, depending on what's going on, you have to go back again and again. And then eventually you'll be at that state of mind where you accept it and you're okay.
Right. And then that inner child so would you say that the inner child is reabsorbed, disappears, just is no longer necessary?
I would say it depends on your state of mind at the moment, because you decide what needs to be there and what doesn't. So our mind is so great that way. And we put in our thoughts. We put in, okay, if I'm going to live off of this trauma for the rest of my life, that's my decision. If I'm going to put that aside and say, I'm going to use my story. So I tell people all the time, there's no such thing as victims. But there is a such thing as survivor, right? You are a survivor of your condition. You are not a victim of your condition. So when we have that mindset, we can actually conquer a lot more, because then we say, okay, I don't feel bad for my situation in the past. I don't have to go back there because all these bad things happened to me, and why, God, why? We can go back and say, okay, look what I've learned. Okay, look who I am. Wow, because I went through so much, I'm so fed up with it now as an adult that the next person that stands on me and walks all over me, I'm going to wreak havoc. And so that's what we do as adults. We tend to have that mindset come across. Maybe doesn't mean we're stuck. It doesn't mean like we're going back into child work, so to speak. But sometimes we can use trauma and come to the mindset of enough's enough. I'm not doing this anymore. And we start getting this aggressive side of us. And then what happens is we can lash out at people, and they're wondering what's going on with her. Why is she doing this? And part of us is like, I don't got no issues. I'm fine. But in all aspects, our personality is like, I'm not going there again. You're not going to hurt me again. And so it's our way of defending ourselves.
Right. And I think that, so once again, there's that subconscious versus the conscious, right? Like only 10% of what we do is controlled by our conscious. It's all that other 90%. And, our intuition, dreams, all those things are that connection between our subconscious and our conscious. So that's where coming to understand ourselves better. But I think also being that observer in your life where you can notice, right? When you are doing things that are not typical to you, right? If you're overreacting to things, if you're over responding or going to the extreme at different ends, or being much more emotional than usual, it's because it's an indicator to take a look deeper, figure out what's going on, and go into that meditation, right? Go back to that inner child, because hindsight's a wonderful thing, but if you use it, that ability to look back, to know how you want to show yourself how you want to change going forward, as opposed to judging yourself.
Right.
We're so harsh on ourselves. We do have kind of limited time, so I'd love to hear more. So I wanted to share more that Kimberly and I are offering a course titled Transform Your Life, and it's coming up starting next Wednesday, September 23rd. It's going to be in the evening, and it's a Zoom, so it'll be pre-recorded. You don't have to attend each one, but 8 weeks of all the information that kind of the basics that you need to know about energy. What do you think, Kimberly?
I think, you know, if you're one of those people that's just kind of going back and forth and you're not sure exactly what you're supposed to do, sometimes that goes back into child work. So we're going to speak a little bit about that. We're going to speak a little bit about how you can protect your energy. I think you'd be amazed of what people do daily that invites other people's energy into our energy field. So, you know, you guys want to know more, you got to get into the workshop, and we'll go more and more in depth to that. But every day we are interacting with people numerous times, and that energy loves to come onto us. So you'd be surprised of how much of other people's energy, even if you don't interact long periods of time, how that magnetic field can come onto us. So we'll teach you some tools, and we will go through some of the ways that you guys can be more aware of your energy, more aware of your emotion when a little bit too much energy comes into your field and kind of just stays there. And we'll be able to show you the way that we can just kick that out and just kick out the energy that doesn't serve us. And I think it's going to be super beneficial.
Well, especially in this day and age, right, with COVID and the mass amounts of energy that people, the fear, the anxiety, all the issues that are coming up for people. And a lot of times, so there's a couple things. That's one of the points I wanted to make before, is that I find with a lot of my clients right now, their fear and anxiety that's coming up with regards to COVID is actually triggering them back to an inner child where they didn't have control. And so they're thrown back there. But also it's learning to separate what is your energy and the energy of other people that you're feeling, because a lot of us are empaths and we feel and pick up other people's energy, and we don't realize that. So I think this will be a great tool for kind of everyone to step in and understand more about energy. So tell us more about what you do and how people can get in touch with you.
Well, I can, you know, guide you guys on your path. So if you feel a little stuck, the good thing about what I can do is I can kind of get in there kind of like a therapist and say, okay, instead of you sitting down for an hour and, you know, pouring out your whole heart, I can kind of see some of that beforehand. So we don't necessarily have to dive deep when you work with me. I can go ahead and pull some of that trauma. I can go ahead and pull some of those feelings that you've had that maybe it's time to let go. So, and I can also, you know, contact loved ones. So if you're somebody who has been waiting for closure, you're somebody that for some reason years has passed or months, or just recently you're asking yourself, why didn't I do this? Or why didn't I say my goodbyes? Or I wish I could see them again. Well, you contact me and we'll see what we can do with that as far as getting your messages across and getting messages back in return. So that's great. So you want to work with me? I'm kind of a little bit of everything. You just got to check out my website and I'll let you know. My website is down below at spiritualconnect.com.
Wonderful. And Kimberly's also on the Speak Up and Empower platform along with myself, and that's just speakupandempower.com. Also Speak Up and Empower Facebook pages, et cetera, et cetera. So it's all here. But so every Thursday, I'd love to hear your feedback, questions, any suggestions, either for Kimberly or myself. Soul Alchemy, to me, Soul Alchemy is all about all the tools that you need in order to transform. We all are have a story that has been created over our lives, stories based upon what other people have said about us, what we say about ourselves, events that have happened, and things that we start to become our story, but it's not our truth. So when we can let go of the story and transform back to our truth, then we can truly have that life that we dream of. And really find joy and happiness, peace, whatever you're searching for, because it's all possible for all of us. So Kimberly, thank you very much. I truly appreciate having you on, and I look forward to our workshop together in our seminar series. So this is Speak Up and Empower, Real Talk Soul Alchemy on every Thursday at 12:30. And Speak Up and Empower is an online membership-based community of heart-centered people. So Kimberly, you have a talk coming up in half an hour or in 5 minutes?
No, in about a half an hour.
Okay.
I'll be on again. You guys will see me again.
And what do you talk about?
It would be 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time.
Okay. And the title is?
Messages from the Divine. So we talk about all kinds of spiritual yum, all the great things that you want to know about spirituality.
Okay. Do you have a guest today?
What's that? We'll see. It's a big question mark. We'll have the divine decide that.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you next Thursday at 12:30. I also have Real Talk Wellness Renegades, and it's all about teaching you about natural therapies to heal yourself, and that's on Tuesdays at 10:30. And I also, for the next 3 weeks, am doing a PCOD, polycystic ovarian disease workshop series to educate people about the disease or the syndrome, so you have more information about it. So that's on Tuesdays at 12 o'clock also. So join us again, and thank you very much. Bye.